The Sslyth are a multi-limbed snake-like Xenos race found throughout numerous parts of the galaxy. Despite their bestial appearance, the Sslyth are highly intelligent, able to understand and communicate in various languages, including the natural dialects of human and Eldari. This in turn allows the Sslyth to work alongside a multitude of other Xenos species with comparative ease. The Sslyth are extremely tenacious in combat, able to disregard any distractions made by the enemy as they carry out their mission. In addition, they are incredibly strong, able to use their powerful claws to shatter a man's skull and crush bodies within their muscular coils. This combination of skill, power, and agility make the Sslyth highly prized as mercenaries by a variety of races throughout the galaxy. The Sslyth are known to find employment with Eldari corsairs, but their services are more commonly utilized by the Drukhari. When employed by the Drukhari, they will frequently serve as members of an Archon's retinue, alongside other exotic species such as Medusae and Urgal. Due to their financial dedication to their employer, they are considered to be far more trustworthy than a typical Drukhari, who would easily attempt to murder an Archon in order to seize power for themselves should the opportunity present itself. There have even been cases of rogue trader captains attempting to hire Sslyth mercenaries. Officially, these attempts have all been unsuccessful, although it's entirely possible that these rogue traders have kept the matters deliberately in the dark, hidden from the Administratum, for fear that any documented actions of their Xenos employees could be traced back to them. Much like the snakes that the creatures are evocative of, the Sslyth are covered in thick scales that grow larger and thicker along their backs and flanks, acting as a form of natural armor. The species also has outstanding dexterity, able to utilize each of their four arms independently to wield weaponry such as envenomed blades and rifles with amazing skill, being able to match and even outclass the training and reflexes of an Astartes in melee combat. The Sslyth also show amazing grace and agility despite their initially ungainly appearance, using their snake-like bodies to traverse over most types of terrain. When used in conjunction with their multiple arms, they are able to rapidly climb up almost any kind of surface should the need arise. But the Sslyth are not the only example of serpentine Xenos to have existed within the galaxy. In fact, the Sslyth are incredibly similar to another Xenos race known as the Laer. The Laer were a race of serpentine Xenos that were native to the world of Laeran. The entire species seemingly formed the members of a planet-wide cult, which was dedicated to the worship of Slaanesh, the chaos god of hedonism and excess. Individual members of the species would be physically altered to fit their roles within society, be it the roles of workers, soldiers, diplomats, and even artists, through the use of chemical and genetic manipulation, a process that the Laer were subjected to from birth. Through these methods, the Laer sought to attain a measure of flawlessness to become perfect in the eyes of their patron deity. During the Great Crusade, the Laer would come into conflict with the Emperor's Children's Space Marine Legion, who, in a parallel to the Laer, had their own methods of striving for perfection. Led by the Primarch Fulgrim, the Emperor's Children would eventually drive the Laer to extinction. But the Legion's exposure to the corrupting influence of Slaanesh as a result from their conflict with the Laer would ultimately result in the downfall of the Legion as they eventually fell to chaos. Given the similarities between the Sslyth and the Laer, could the Sslyth be in fact the surviving descendants of the Laer race? Not only do their appearances seem almost identical, but they also both appear to hold a high regard for pleasure and debauchery. With the Laer, this quest for pleasure and excess was evident within their worship of the chaos god Slaanesh. This almost single-minded indulgence was even displayed when the Emperor's Children Legion assaulted Laeron. While many Laer warriors threw themselves at the Astartes, many more locked themselves within the Great Temple to take part in what could only be described as a mass ritualistic orgy, as detailed within the following passage from the novel Fulgrim.
Wild murals covered every centimetre of the walls, and Julius stiffened as he saw the hundreds of the Laer writhing on the chamber's floor. The horrid, dry susurration of their bodies, the most hideous sound imaginable. He made to shout a warning, but saw there was no need, for the serpentine bodies were hideously intertwined in what looked like some form of grotesque sexual congress. Clearly, whatever power had driven the Laer defending the temple into a manic frenzy did not extend to those within it. They sprawled in languorous response, their glistening, multi-hued bodies pierced in the same manner as the statues, and their sluggish movements suggesting the effect of a powerful narcotic.
The Sslyth, by comparison, have been documented as being either highly disciplined or extremely debauched in combat. The rogue trader Coronis Bestiary states that many Sslyth mercenaries within the Coronis Expanse become so enraptured by their actions that their behaviour becomes that of perverse addicts. But these similar traits towards Slaaneshi worship, both overt and theoretical alike, do not necessarily incur a link between the two. As such, there does exist the possibility that the Sslyth and the Laer are simply descended from a common ancestor of unknown serpentine Xenos, similar to how species such as ogrins and ratlings are descended from humans. Alternatively, it is possible that the Sslyth and Laer are simply the results of convergent evolution. In evolutionary biology, convergent evolution is the process whereby organisms that are not related independently evolve similar traits as a result of having to adapt to similar environments or ecological niches, such as dolphins and sharks sharing similar hydrodynamic designs for their role of oceanic predator. There are many examples of this throughout the galaxy, such as the Morfluke of the Calixus sector and the Necromundan Miliosaur, or how humans and Eldari also share a superficially similar appearance. Now, many specimens of the Laer had also been described as having bulbous eyes and pronounced mandibles, as well as various other insectoid features. But as stated earlier, the Laer had biologically modified many of their species to fulfill specific roles, altering them to have slashing blade-like arms, wings, etc. to fit their role in their perfect society. However, due to the species' planet-wide worship of Slaanesh, one cannot disregard the possibility of the Laer suffering from some form of potential warp-spawned contamination or mutation. Many demons of Slaanesh are known to have overly large eyes or insectoid features, such as pincer-like claws, similar to those found within Terran scorpions. So the Laer's own insectoid features could simply be the result of them receiving the blessings of Slaanesh. It is possible that the Sslyth were in fact Laer explorators who survived the extreme fall to chaos and eventual extinction that befell the rest of their race, similar to how the Eldari Exodites left their homeworlds after seeing their people fall to depravity. The problem with this is that if the Sslyth are seen with any technology, then that technology is almost exclusively manufactured by another race. While the Sslyth do seem to have a preference for Drukhari weaponry, such as shard carbines and splinter pistols, they have also been witnessed using Imperial weaponry such as autoguns. There are also no records of actual Sslyth voidcraft, and as such, some have speculated that the race lacks the ability of void travel entirely, although there has been no evidence to either confirm nor deny this. The rogue trader Coronis Bestiary also details how storytellers in the Coronis Expanse tell that the Sslyth are remnants of an ancient Xenos culture that fell to darkness long ago. This would certainly seem to imply that the Sslyth within the Coronis Expanse are descendants of the ancient Laer race. But that being said, similar such tales are told in regards to almost every other Xenos race within the sector. Despite this, the Sslyth themselves have also been shown to fall to Slaaneshi corruption. One of these instances was detailed in the 8th edition Deathwatch Codex, where a band of Slaanesh-worshipping Sslyth within the Vensine sector was destroyed by Kill Team Decurious. Not only this, but in the Deathwatch story Flesh of the Angel, which expands upon this conflict further, it shows that these particular Sslyth are in fact working alongside members of the Emperor's Children Traitor Legion. Brother Hasdrubael of the Stormlords even notes the following when a shrine dedicated to Slaanesh is discovered within a Sslyth nest.
It is no surprise the Sslyth are predisposed to perversion.
Because of all the evidence shown, it appears that the Sslyth might very well indeed be related to the Laer in some way. If the Sslyth share more than a common ancestor, then perhaps the Sslyth are in actuality the descendants of those Laer who, in a manner similar to the Exodite clans of the Eldari, left Laeran and its outlying worlds simply to avoid falling to the corruption that had overtaken their kin. Or perhaps the Sslyth are simply the remnants of long-lost Laer colonies before the race turned their passions away from exploration and towards hedonism and pleasure. What do you think? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.